I'm going to read your question out loud. Matthias, in the rehearsal process, should actors include vocal adjustments? For sitcom comedy, if you lift up or down, it can help deliver a joke. But should actors make vocal adjustments to serve the story? Example, if I play a victim, I know my voice can be sharp and loud, so the vocal adjustment will have to be soft, heartbreaking voice. And what about your vocal adjustment arc in a movie, like from a drunken bastard to a loving husband? Is that a thing you need to have a vocal adjustment arc on, like from a wrecking voice to losing your voice to nurtured loving voice? Such a good question. Of course, the answer is you need to work on your vocal adjustments script, but then how will you do that? Or like blocking, they appear naturally. So you've answered your own question. So the question is a question about an extremely important facet of acting, which is dynamics. And inside of dynamics comes the concept of melody. So I want to talk about dynamics and melody, and then we're going to discuss how they work. And then I'm going to discuss the difference between drama and comedy. And then from comedy, we extrapolate the answer to Matthias' question. So it's a complicated thing. Dynamics are volume, tempo, rhythm, and melody. And so you start going, that sounds a lot like music. And in fact, it is music. Like, it's not only just like music, it actually is music. And so actors who have studied music, even those of you who've just done, like, you know, your 4 years of piano when you were a little kid, actually have a leg up, because in acting, you will come across, and just last night we we're discussing crescendo and accelerende and staccato and legato and tempo and then melody. You're going to often hear crescendo the monologue or decrescendo the monologue. Brad Pitt in Assassination of Jesse James, and how nothing happens and he doesn't move his face, but you can feel a crescendo to the climax. It's an internalized crescendo with no physicality or vocality. It's incredibly hard to do and really exciting to watch. A few of you in this class have done it, so you understand how it works. A crescendo, of course, is gradually getting louder. And then I've actually had a director go, listen, it's sotto forte, which is, you know, it's suddenly loud. So you go, I don't know, you know, just suddenly loud. And they tell me that dynamic. And so you'll have directors talk about those dynamics. The answer to how does that work is the exact same as melody. Melody on a dialogue is the sing-song of the line itself. The sing-song, ba-ba-ba, ba-da-ba-ba-ba. There's actually melody. There is melody, musicality in all language, which is why it's actually not true that somebody is tone deaf, or what do they call it? Tone deaf. Like, there are people that go like, you know, I can't, I'm tone deaf. And it's like, no, you can actually, if you were tone deaf, you would say every line like this, and every person you heard would talk like that. So if you hear somebody go, what? No, then clearly you understand tone. So tone deaf doesn't really exist. It's a matter of teaching yourself the notes of the scale and learning it. You can acquire a perfect pitch, or at least an understanding of pitch. Melody is an exceptionally important component of communication. In fact, melody, funny enough, it's a book that I was going to talk about in my other talk, but you need to read Steven Pinker's The Stuff of Thought. Fellow Montrealer. Melody predates communication, dialogue communication. So melody is actually a way of people communicating to each other before we had language. It's pre-linguistic, which is why babies don't speak the language that their parents speak, but they go, okay, and then you understand what they're saying. And what's interesting, you know, most of you will know this, is that your dog can do it. Your dog has a pre-linguistic, well, a non-linguistic vocal quality. I go, Dexter, and he goes, I go, Dexter. I go, you wanna go outside? Oh! Like, he actually speaks in melody, right? And so you start going, what? Like, you start here going, these are pre-linguistic melodic ways of communicating. So before we had language, I'd be like, and we talk that way to each other. And dialogue has been placed on top of melody. So the words you're saying are actually conveyed by the melodic connection. So melody and dialogue are actually synonymous. your characters all have exceptional melody to their speaking. You will have characters who are melodically mm, compressed, and you'll have characters that are melodically large, um, or expressed. Let's say compressed and expressed. And the script, we're gonna get to this in a second, but the script will dictate to you whether or not the character is a melodically expressive or a melodically compressive character. In other words, you will meet people who they sort of talk like this a lot. They're very deadpan people. They're just kind of like straight up like that, right? And then of course you'll talk to me, and I'm kind of like, hey, what do you? I'm extremely melodic in my tone. I actually wasn't before I became an actor, just so you know. I was when I went into theater school, I was accused constantly of being a mumbler and monotone, because I know Neelu's like, what? And so with Shakespeare and musical theater, I've developed melody in my voice, and now I'm very melodic. Michelle as well. So we have very melodic children. Melody becomes an extremely important way and part of your communication. Now, melody, like tempo, like rhythm, like stress, and we have to talk about stress because that's part of dynamics. We need to talk about stress. We need to talk about stress. We need to talk about stress. Like stress in a line conveys a different meaning. And it's interesting sometimes to hear actors hit the wrong stress. Like actors will often hit the pronoun, and you're like, why is she hitting the pronoun? It's very odd for a human being to hit the pronoun. By the way, when a person hits the pronoun, it's because they're doing a comparison. That's the only time you hit the pronoun. You know, she is really good at scene analysis. He, on the other hand. And so when you hit the pronoun, so when an actor hits the pronoun, when they go, well, I can't believe she did that, the audience goes, as compared to whom? And we're waiting to figure out where's the comparison. And then no comparison comes and the audience is confused. As opposed to, you know, I can't believe she did that. We almost always stress the verb. See the irony in that sentence? I did that on purpose. We almost always stress the verb in a sentence. Stress, dynamics like tempo, speed, you know, picking up your cues, rhythm, and then other little dynamic. There are other dynamics, which is, do you guys all know what staccato is in music? Staccato, right? As opposed to legato. And so I will actually say to an actor, the sentence is a staccato sentence. I will not let you do that. I will not is a staccato sentence. As opposed to a legato sentence, I will not let you do that. I will not. So staccato versus legato. Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto. If I publish this, do keep that in, because you know you always want a Styx reference. Staccato, legato, dynamics, tempo, but in the end, melody. All of those are exceptionally important. And here comes the rule, which we're then going to break. But here comes the rule, and it's fundamentally important, so that when we break the rule, you'll understand that all of those things, like blocking, like physicality, like where your eyes move, when you breathe, all of those things are resultant of the action itself. And so as an acting teacher, I don't say to Emily Hardy, hey, listen to the scene. I think you should staccato that, then take a beat, crescendo it, right? And then lift the line. Like you would never hear me talk that way. Instead, I go, listen, you're getting frustrated. Your character's being frustrated by your mother, right? Because your mother is walling you up. And so what you need to do is bash through her walls, like, what do you call it? Batter ram her stupidity and ignorance in order to force her into getting inoculated. Sorry about the pandemic bias. You know, get vaccinated. So the idea being, I have to tell you action and I have to tell you verb versus an objective. And it all comes down to, based on the story, based on the you know, there's the genre and the style and the writer and the meaning of the story itself dictates to you the A and the B, the two conversations, and then you understand the theme. And from that, you understand how the characters interplay and which character is affected which way and how they're affecting each other. And then you go, okay, now there's my relationships. And based on that, I understand my backstory and forestory. So now I understand my objectives. And then in the objective, I can figure out what action I'm playing in each moment. And the action itself is all you need to worry about. And if the action is drive it through her fucking skull, you're going to end up going, will you just listen to me? And I don't have to tell you to do it staccato. It'll happen. And if it's, you know what, sotto voce, you're going to get sotto voce thrown at you all the time. And in fact, often in scripts, you're going to see parentheses, S-O-T-T-O, sotto. And sotto voce means in a subtle voice, but in a quiet voice, almost a whisper. And it comes from opera, right? An opera, ah, right? But sotto voce is, ah, it's tiny. So sotto voce is, listen, I need you to get your shit together. So the writer sometimes will put sotto in to teach you. But oftentimes, if you're breaking down the script correctly, you realize that the verb is to like secretly pinprick her into action. So it's, listen, get your shit together. And I don't ever have to tell you to do it sotto. It just happens. And the vast majority of you know what it's like. It's so wonderful. If you do all your scene analysis correctly and really specifically and deeply, profoundly, then you just kind of throw yourself at the script and then suddenly you're doing it exactly the way the script wants you to do it. And it's coming out sauté, and it's coming out staccato, and it's coming out melodically. And so you can't help but go, what the fuck does she mean by that? And that's how the line comes out. And then what happens is it mixes with you and your experience and your genetics, your husk, your instrument. My version of the melody and his version of the melody are going to be slightly different, which is why you can get Hamlet played by three different exceptionally great actors doing it all identically, and it all comes out just slightly different. And that's because it's coming through your instrument. So the melody is going to be shifted on you just a little bit. But each one of you are playing the same action, you know? And if you played the action like blasé and I throw it away, I'm wet blanketing it. What the fuck are you talking about? Then I go, right, that's completely incorrect. So melody as melody and dynamics for a director or for an acting teacher, and I hope all the directors I know watch this video, becomes an exceptional tool for knowing whether or not the actor's on point, if the actor's in the scene. Because if you go, I don't know what the fuck she's talking about, and I go, wait, melodically, that's not right. You must study Shakespeare and sitcom. I know that sounds weird, but sitcom is the highest form of acting and Shakespeare is the lowest form of acting as an actor, because Shakespeare's so easy. People make it hard. It's not hard. You just memorize the dialogue and then say it like you mean it. In Sooth, I know not why, I am so sad. Like he acts for you. But sitcom, brutal. That's why of the top 10 highest paid actors in Hollywood, 6 are comedians or sitcom actors. None of them are Shakespeare actors. Well, sitcom in the park, that'd be great. You don't see that because it's impossibly hard. A director will know that there's lots of room for the I don't like the word interpretation, but for the reflection of the moment through the different character. What you need to do, like, can you pick up the glasses on this moment? Or can you look to your left at that time? Or take a breath there, or sit, or whatever. You have to go, oh God. And then you have to reverse engineer it into action, because actors can only do actions, they can't do anything else. So you are the one that has to go, oh, I see what he wants. You actually fake it. You say to the director, so you want me to go, oh, I've been doing a lot of swearing on this tape, eh? Oh, well, it's too late now. If you say to the director, what the fuck is going on? Not the director says that to you, say it that way. So you say it back to him, what the fuck is going on? He goes, yeah, like that. Then you have to go, all right, what the hell is that? And then reverse engineer that into, right, just like knuckle it into her brain or tap the truth out of her, or like miniature slap her, you know? And then you're like, oh yeah, what the fuck's going on? And you go, okay, I got it now. So you can go back to surrender, because if you're not surrendering in the moment, you're not acting. If you're thinking about a note, if you're thinking about dynamics, if you're thinking about melody, then you're not acting, because a character isn't doing that. A character is allowing that naturally. I think I've made that point really clear, but I'll say it one more time. The character is doing these things naturally, like I just said, naturally, like in some melodic way. That's me just being me, and how me being me, I'm stressing the word me. If a human being is thinking about their melody while they're speaking, they're in some serious trouble psychologically. So you as an actor, if you're doing that, you look psychotic. you can't, no, I know that seems funny, but that's actually kind of one of my telltale teachings is, the acting's not right because something in you goes, oh, that's psychotic. Like there's something psychologically incorrect about it. You're in a scene study class and you go, that's weird. It's because it's not real. So there's really not good acting and bad acting. There's acting and then psychoticness. And when it's like, that's weird. Yeah. So somebody who's thinking about how they're going to deliver their lines is clearly psychotic, because in the real world, no one would ever do that unless they were crazy. So you need to reverse engineer back so that your character can then forget that they're doing that and accidentally flow, right? So that's very good. So so one more time. Dynamics and melody are the results of the action. And if you play the action fully and truthfully and have completely surrendered to the action, the melody will occur. The stress should occur. There's another one, stress. The actor does some kind of weird stress. And I rarely, sometimes I'll use it as an example for teaching, but I rarely go, don't stress some, stress use. Actors sometimes use incorrect stress. I don't say that. I'll go, so what's the action on that line? And the actor goes, oh, I don't know, I haven't worked it out, or such and such. And I said, you've got to drive home the teaching with that line. You got to teach the person. You've got to like university lecture them on how it's done. And the actor goes, oh, sometimes actors use the wrong kind of, and I go, like that, right? And I never said change the stress. The stress changes naturally because the action is now correct. So you can't possibly be playing the correct action if you're stressing incorrectly. Do you understand that? If the actor goes, I don't know what's wrong with her, I go, what's your verb? And they'll go, oh, and they tell me the verb, questioning her sanity. And I go, yeah, so do that. Because you're not doing it then. You're not doing that action. Because I don't know what's wrong with her is a comparison to somebody else. So you're not, what was my verb? Questioning her sanity. You're comparing her sanity. Those are two different actions. So I'm like, question her sanity. I don't know what's wrong with her. Thank you. And so the stress actually teaches that the actor is either doing the wrong verb or they're not doing the verb. You understand that? Very good. However, the result was they were stressing incorrectly. Does that make sense, Matthias, so far? Right, good. So one more time, the rule: melody, dynamics, tempo, rhythm are all results of the action. Same as your blocking, same as your breathing, same as where you're looking. Like those things are all going to happen naturally because you were actually truthfully emotionally prepared for the circumstances, have an objective in a relationship, and are really playing it. Like I'm doing right now. I'm not thinking about my stresses. Now I am. See how I've become psychotic. So that's the rule. Got that?